library.
Hello, and thank you everyone for coming. We do appreciate it, and we hope this session will be useful in as you're preparing for your 2017 summer program at your library. And we're going to focus on outreach, getting out into your community during the summer, which can be challenging, and we're going to talk about that a lot today. I am the Youth and Family Services Consultant here at the State Library in Denver. Where it is very, very cold today. And as I was preparing this, I came across this great photo here, and this is Seattle Public Library's Books on Bikes program. So they have a bookmobile on a bicycle, and I love the sign, "Your Library Without Limits," and I think that actually would have made a better subtitle than the one I came up with today. So summertime outreach, bringing summer learning into the community, or your library without limits. I like that as an introduction. So we're going to start out talking about what is outreach, which might be a little different than how the term is sometimes used. So I'm going to show you a couple of quotes here that I found, again, while I was preparing for this, that particularly spoke to me, and we'll have a discussion about these. If you have any initial thoughts, please type them in the chat. So here is the first quote. This is from a Voya article last year. And I'm not going to read it to you. You can read it yourself, but I thought this was very community-centered and all about delivering services out into the community. So I'll give you a moment to read that over. And I do see more people joining us. Thank you for coming today. If you would take a moment at some time, especially perhaps as we're going through these initial quotes, to take a moment to introduce yourself on the chat box. That would be great. We'd love to know where you're from. So there's the first quote from Linda Braun in her Voya article, "Who Cares Where?" And here's our next quote. This is from a Library Journal article from 2 years ago. Great. So Kathy notes, "I'm not sure if we can really not care if they ever come into our building." And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about here. So from these two quotes, these are rather, could be considered rather radical, right? So for these two quotes, I came up with a definition of outreach service, again, that may be a little different than how it's often used. So the definition I've come up with is providing library services outside of your library without the expectation that those receiving services will ever come to your library. So we'll break that down. The first part of that, to start with, differentiates between providing library services from promoting library services. So this is actually delivering the library services outside of your library instead of going out in the community and promoting your services with the hope that people will come in. And the second part of that definition is you're not providing outreach services with the end goal of those participants ever coming into the library. It's not a teaser to get people there. It is the end in itself, such as this quote. And I see people are really discussing this, which is great. I would urge everyone to jump in if you have a thought about this. I'm going to paste in the definition I just read to you that I've come up with using these quotes as a starter. So if you have any reactions, I love the discussion so far. Roseanne, absolutely. Door count. How many bodies come into the library? This is often a huge measurement of a huge evaluation measurement, right? And yes, stakeholders. This is a change for staff and stakeholders. And and administration. Absolutely. So there's some interest in this I can see, but some realization that this might be a hard change. So Lucy says state reports want counts, not easy in outreach, right? And funding is based on stats and door counts, Diane says, absolutely. So this is really going to be a shift in thinking. So Roseanne, that's great. You already count outreach. And Christine mentioned that too. So a lot of you count outreach, but those numbers tend to be smaller than actual door counts. And if that's where you put your focus, perhaps door counts might go down, or this is not where your priorities have typically been to do outreach and maybe get lower numbers. Oh, Roseanne mentions online resources. Yes. And Diane mentions the worth of outreach is a hard sell with continued budget limitations. Absolutely. Right. Yeah, you all are making great points. This is these are the challenges I was thinking of too when I came up with this definition. This is a big shift in thinking for everyone. So we're going to go ahead and discuss why you might consider increasing your outreach during the summer, why it is important to reach those kids that aren't coming into your library during the summer. And then we're going to talk about more of the why. Why, or how rather. We start out with the why, and then we will move to the how, and then to the what. So that's the way the rest of this will go. So this infographic, thank you, Christine, for posting this. This shows, this is from First Book, which is a nonprofit organization that gives away a lot of books. And this demonstrates that research shows summer slide affects students from lower income households more than those from those from middle and higher income ones. And this is because kids in lower income homes have less opportunities for enrichment experiences over the summer, like visiting libraries and museums, traveling, and going to summer camp. They also tend to have less access to books, as shown here in this infographic. But this also shows that the access to books can prevent such a drastic loss in reading skills over the summer. So it gets to the really pretty drastic statistics here of the difference between lower and higher income students. Lucy, that's great. You have the after school lunch program to reach new students. That's fantastic. That's a great, great example. Thank you. And Diane talks about the relationships built by outreach. Yes, absolutely. You're reaching the children and the parents. Absolutely. That's great. That's a really excellent point. And we're going to be talking about community building. Great. And here's another infographic. This one is from Campaign for Grade Level Reading. And this shows how much kids from, again, lower income homes lose the ground they gained over the last school year during the summer because they don't get those enrichment opportunities. And this graphic, I think, shows really well how cumulative this summer loss is. So the students from the different socioeconomic backgrounds make about the same gains during each school year, but then you can see how much is lost each summer and how cumulative it is. And it's just really hard to catch up if kids aren't getting those summer experiences. So this focuses on kids from lower income homes and what challenges might they face in visiting the library? What barriers do they have to coming in? Language, absolutely. Transportation, certainly. That's a huge one. I see a lot of typing going on, which is great. Ah, the library is one more errand for parents. Yeah, Christine, that's a great point. Roseanne, they may be hesitant to ask for help. That's totally right. Becky, you're from Alamosa, she says it's transportation above anything else. It can be really hard, whether you're in an urban or rural area. Transportation is a huge problem. Christine says it's not a priority in the home, for sure. It's outside of their norm. These are great, 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 great. So some of these issues you may be able to overcome with promoting, and you may be able to get them to come into the library. Some of these are harder barriers to overcome, like transportation. And perhaps language too. If they speak a language that is not represented in your library, staff speak that language or have materials in that language, that can be a really hard one to overcome as well. Perhaps you can get some of these into the community, but some of them you can't. Lucy, yes, you're in a rural community and transportation is really challenging for sure. Kathy mentioned summer reading camps. That's great. Oh, Becky's is connecting with Boys and Girls Club. That's a great possible partner. We're going to be talking a lot about partners later too. So this slide is focusing on low-income students, but what other groups of kids might not be coming to your library over the summer? And what are their barriers that they face? Oh, Roseanne says international students. Oh, that's interesting. Kids with two working parents, busy camp kids, teens. Yep. Yeah, these are good, all underserved community, underserved people in your community who are not using the library. So that's great. And there's a resource on your handout. I don't have a slide about it, but it is on your handout. A recent study by the Pew Research Foundation about library usage. And it has one nice chart about what demographic groups are most likely to have visited a library in the last 12 months and which are most likely to never have gone to a library ever. Of course, this differs a lot community by community. Your community may not match that at all, but it is a starting place at least to see national trends about, excuse me, what demographic groups are using the library and what aren't. Might at least give you that starting place. So we've been discussing the why do summer outreach. It's really to reach the kids who aren't coming to your library for whatever reason that need your library summer program the most. They really do. And it's so important to reach them. They're the ones that are experiencing the most summer slide. So now we're going to turn to how, which is really challenging, right? And Christine posted the link to the handouts. We will have two handouts here. And thanks, Christine. So we're going to have one of these double chat windows here. What makes summer outreach challenging for you, and how can we, what can we do to overcome those barriers? So if you want to start typing, we've already been chatting about this a bit, but maybe we could go into a little more depth. What are your specific outreach challenges? Staff, absolutely. That is a huge one. Being so busy inside that it's hard to find time to get out. Yep, time, absolutely. Roseanne says our whole department is 4 people. Yep, staff is definitely definitely an issue. Becky mentioned she uses a large teen volunteer staff, which is great. We're going to be talking about volunteers later too. So there's competing with local activities for sure. There are already so many activities going on in the community. Oh, Jeannie mentions attitudes. That's great. Yeah, more competition for activities. Kids, there's so much going on. Kids may not come to your event. It's interesting. And so to overcome, volunteers, partnering, absolutely. Working with staff to find time to get out, for sure. These are great, great suggestions. Find a balance, absolutely. Work with local entities to be sure programs don't overlap, right? Excellent. Jeannie says, a challenge is remembering the ahas of the children and overcoming our stressors. What a great point. Thank you for sharing that. It really is great. Cricket mentions a supportive director who will help. Yeah, administrative support for outreach is key, absolutely key to prioritizing outreach. Yeah, so that's great. So Christine, I think we'll move back to the slides. Thank you. And we're going to look at some of these challenges and possible solutions. So a first step is definitely to look at your community. Review your demographics and look ahead too. Are your demographics changing now? And what do you know, if you can kind of foresee 3 years from now, what does that look like? And try to find out who isn't coming to your library. Do you have groups? Some of you already identified groups, so you seem to have a great sense of that already. Who isn't coming in and why? And then from that, especially if you're in a larger library, it may be absolutely impossible to even conceive of trying to reach everyone, right? That can be huge and overwhelming. So maybe you want to select a target audience. Becky mentions migrant families. That's great. That would be an excellent target audience because it's focused. It's not overwhelming. There are groups that already work with migrant families that you can tap into, partners, and so that is great. So that's going to look different for every community. So finding your target audience, perhaps it's Spanish-speaking families, or perhaps it's maybe there's a new immigrant community in your moving into your area that they haven't been there very long and you really haven't even had an opportunity to try to reach out to them. Maybe that's who you choose. And then go from there to planning. Reaching out to leaders and organizations that already work with your target population is really a great place to start. You can get to know the community. You can start to build trust, build those relationships that some of you mentioned earlier. That is so important. And then a lot of you were mentioning the outcomes that, you know, you all have to focus so much on outputs, on the numbers. And that is really, can be really hard to overcome. in a library, you rely on the output numbers for funding. You have to report on them in a variety of places and for different reasons to prove how many people you're serving. But if you can turn that around to focusing on outcomes rather than outputs, so that is, what kind of a difference are you making? Instead of how many people are you serving, what kind of difference are you making? And it can be the case that you are making more of an impact on these underserved communities because they do. They're more inclined to suffer this summer slide more than kids who come into your library already. And so to set goals that focus on outcomes rather than outputs, there's a link on your handout, the resource handout, to an article about the California Summer Reading Outcomes Initiative. And this is a great program from the State Library in California that offers great ideas and resources for setting outcome-based goals that particularly focus on reaching underserved audiences over the summer. So that might be something to look at. I see Rachel has posted the project outcome link from the Public Library Association. Thank you, Rachel, for posting that. That is also really an excellent resource for you for outcome-based goals and serving underserved audiences. So, so those are great. So collaborating with organizations and also individuals in this target community is so important. A lot of you would already mentioning possible partners and partners that you have already worked with. We've done a research project here at the Colorado State Library working with families in low-income households that have young children, and we found that the two most important things for really serving those families were to partner and to work through existing infrastructures that already supports that community. It's really, really hard to go this on your own. It is much more efficient and effective to collaborate with groups that are already reaching your target population. So that is really, really key. And last, really get out into the community and listen to your partners and to your target audience. That includes where and when is the best place to serve them. You need to be going where they are when they are. Again, instead of expecting them to come into your library. And I see a lot of great conversation going by that I'm not getting to, but it looks like a rich comments for sure. And all of you mentioned time. That is really hard. You know, you're already doing your best just to serve the, tons of children that are in your library already in the summer. So how can you possibly get out into the community to do outreach? So one idea is to simplify. Is there any way you can simplify your summer program to free up some staff time? And really look at what you do in your summer program that is not critical to reaching your goals and to preventing summer slide. Is there anything that you can do to simplify? And that might be changing up some long-standing traditions in your summer program. But if the goal is really to get out into the community to serve these kids that aren't coming in, you need to take a look at that. Prioritizing outreach is key. And again, we've talked about that earlier. Administrative support and support from your stakeholders is really critical in that. Collaborating with partners to deliver library services, again, whenever you can work with a partner, we're going to be looking at some of those more in depth later. Untrained volunteers also. You don't have to be doing all the outreach yourself. Your library staff doesn't need to be doing all of this. You can rely on your partners and some volunteers with some cross-training and some close communication, it can be a really effective way to deliver library services outside of the library. I know a lot of you do that already really well. So, and funding. So some of you mentioned money. It's some of the same answers apply. If you can simplify your summer program, maybe free up some funding. Let's say you give out 3 incentives over the course of the summer. You have 3 levels of completion. Could you perhaps just do 1 incentive at the end? It takes a lot of staff time and funding for those extra 2 levels in between. And yes, some kids are really motivated by that. So again, you need to look at your own library goals and summer goals and library goals and see that might be a way of simplifying. And work with partners and volunteers again for the funding. And prioritize outreach. And here's some other ideas. We do have a handout with grant sources. So you might want to check that out. I have some specific grants listed that are national. And then I have a separate list at the bottom just for Colorado specific statewide possibilities. Thanks, Christine just posted the link to where you can get the handout. And one grant I will point out here specifically is the Summer Learning Program grants. This is a joint funding opportunity from the YALSA and Dollar General. And right now they have 2 grant options that are open for applications. One is the Summer Learning Resources Grant. This provides funds for programs targeting teens from underserved groups specifically. And the other is a Teen Summer Intern Grant. And the deadline for those is January 1. So get those in. I'm going to post that really quick. It is on the handout, but I'll post it here just to make it easier. So if you're interested in those, again, act fast. Application January 1. So, Christine, we have a partner chat. Am I at the right? Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So here we have a double chat window to talk more about partners and the benefits of collaborating. So who are some current partners that you have, or who might you be considering as well? It doesn't have to be a current thing. Maybe you're working on something for 2017, a new partner. Would love to have that here. And then what are some benefits of collaborating? And I see you've already mentioned some in the main chat, your summer school, which is great. Becky mentioned the Boys and Girls Club. Oh, so you've got some great possibilities here. Daycares, the summer food service program, a literacy council, great, summer school, Head Start, child care centers. Oh, Habitat for Humanity, Becky, that's great to go with the theme of Build a Better World. Excellent. Salvation Army Summer Camp, that's a good one. Mentally challenged teens and adults who come into the library, that's great, excellent. Your business community, a recreation district. Oh, a co-op, 4-H, excellent, that's great. Oh, so Jeannie mentions, yeah, sometimes partners and sponsors, sometimes those terms are absolutely used interchangeably. Here, I think I had intended at least, like you said, more of a collaborative partner and not just supplying funds or in-kind goods. But yeah, I mean, sponsors are absolutely critical too, of course, right? YMCA, Boy Scouts. That's great. These are excellent partners. Oh, an organization that serves Latino families. Great. A conservation office. Local bookstore that does book fairs. These are fantastic. And the benefits that you're mentioning are spot on. Find people you need to reach. Yeah, those organizations already have those connections. Tap into them. It'll be easier for you to reach your target audience and support them. And others to help. Yeah, it really so hard to do this on your own. If you can work with other organizations that have similar goals, you're helping each other meet them together. It's much more effective and efficient that way. Yeah, Roseanne, that's a great point about partnering with schools, for sure. Kayla, they give new ideas. Rachel, it's a captive audience, right? Roseanne, you get teen input. 2 brains are better than 1. These are great, absolutely. These are all critical components. Jeannie mentions an agency for at-risk teens. That is a tough audience. It's a tough audience to find and serve and support well. And so, great. If you can get a partnership going, that would be phenomenal benefit right there. And Christine, I think we'll move back to the slides. Thanks. And now we're going to put this all together, put together the why and the how we've been talking about, and look at some examples of what this might actually look like on the ground. So probably the easiest way, oh, bye, Becky. Thanks for coming. Story time must go on. So one way to start this, which is also, it can be a little simpler way to start as well, is to do the programs that you already do in your library and take them out into the community. So one way this helps you, of course, is that these are materials and programs you've probably already created and are very easily adaptable to take out into the field. So here is a story time on the left, of course. So this is from the Arapahoe Library District here in Colorado, and they take story times out into housing developments, which is great. This one happens to be outside. If the weather was bad, they had a room inside where they could do it. And so again, this is a story time they may already have done in the library, and you take it outside. The photo on the left, this is from the Public Library of Mount Vernon in Knox County in Ohio. They have a mobile makerspace. And so again, you may have maker programs in your library. Why don't take some of the portable portions of that out into the field? You can set up in a wide variety of venues. So this particular mobile makerspace has 3 modules. They have a button maker, a photo booth with homemade costumes, and a teen coloring station. So again, it's if you can find things that are portable that you already do, and take them out. Roseanne mentioned they take their button maker out to outreach events like fairs and festivals. Excellent. That's great. And it's amazingly popular. Wonderful. So that might be a way to begin. There's still the time and expense of getting out of the library, but at least you won't have to create any programs from scratch. This is a great way to start. And I'm going to move on, but if you have any ideas for venues and also partners for doing this sort of program, again, taking out what you already have done into the community, would love to hear your ideas. So partners and venues for this type of outreach. And one way that one thing that can help you is if you get outreach kits, if you can put together, again, these portable materials in some kind of nice package, so it's easy for people just to grab and go into the community. This can be you, it could be a partner, it could be volunteers. But if you have it all packaged up, perhaps with a little manual about how things go at the program, can make it easier. So on the top left, this photo is the Garfield County Library, which is here in Colorado. they made these lit launch kits that they took out to child care centers, preschools, and into the community. And they're all packaged up nicely. They could just grab them and go. And I know a lot of you do these kinds of outreach kits. I saw Kirsten Dees here. She does those at the Pueblo Library very well. So I know a lot of these are already going on. The two other photos here, this is from the Arrowhead Library System in Rock County, Wisconsin. They have mobile makerspaces that help the library staff take makerspaces into the community. They have a bunch of different kits, but the one pictured on the right is, of course, their sewing kit, and the one on the bottom is their 3D printing kit. So again, you can see the 3D printing kit, how compact that is and how easy it is just to take the tub and go. So of course here, this one's a little more challenging. You know, you'd need electricity. And it looks like internet access, perhaps. So you do have to be careful with the venues sometime. Make sure, of course, that they have everything that you need to do your particular program. And if they don't, maybe you want to go with something like the Button Maker, which doesn't require any technology. So another option is to do passive outreach programs. And of course, this is not involving the library staff every time someone uses it. So it is not nearly as hands-on, which is both good and bad, right? It doesn't give that rich experience that library staff add to your programs. But it is nice in that you just set it up and then it's self-maintaining. So the photo on the left shows story walks, and I know Vale Cricket may be able to speak to this. Vale does these, and there's some other, perhaps some other of you have done story walks. So this is where you take apart a picture book and you mount each page spread on a piece of on some mount like this. This is a very simple one, and then you can get very fancy with them as well. But you post the pictures along a trail, and so you get families outside together, walking, exercising, and reading. It's great, and you can set it up, and then it just goes on its own. You can put the library branding on there, and it's a great partnership opportunity as well. So if you get a sturdier one, you can even change out the books in there, which is great. Here on the right is a picture of Little Free Library. This is one built by this Eagle Scout and put up in a playground. So again, this is a great partnership you could do with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or some other service organization to actually build a Little Free Library and partner with perhaps a WIC office, a homeless shelter, a playground, somewhere where kids are going to be and maybe particularly in need of books. Maybe they need more access to books in a particular place. So that is a Little Free option. A Little Free Library is another passive program option. And summer food service program. Some of you have already mentioned that, which is great. If you're not familiar, this is a program that is funded by the USDA, so it's a federally funded program. And it is intended to provide lunches and snacks to kids that normally would get free and reduced cost lunch when they're in school and may not be getting much of any lunch during the summer. So there are lots of ways to partner. Libraries can be actual sites to serve the lunches. There are a lot of guidelines around that can be challenging for some libraries to meet in terms of they're just not set up to keep the lunches to a certain temperature and that sort of thing. But there are lots of other ways you can partner. Here on the right, and Kirsten's here if you want to say anything to this. They have this is the Pueblo City County Library District here in Colorado, and they do this amazing Books in the Park program. And you can see it here. They take these books outside book trucks outside and where the lunches are being served. So again, they're meeting the kids where they are. The kids are coming there for lunch to the park, and the library staff meets them there. Oh, good, I see Kirsten typing more about this. They meet the kids there, and they give them summer activities. And I love the picture of the girl who's using the hula hoop while she's reading. It's a fun picture. So I know a lot of other people have already said that you partner with your summer food service program, which is great. Oh, Kirsten, thank you, Kirsten. They also do story times, crafts, and games. So they are really providing library services during this outreach time in a number of different ways. Then Reach Out and Read is another great partner. And of course, this is not specific to summer, it's any time. But Reach Out and Read is a great partner organization. They work in low-income health clinics to provide early literacy instruction and modeling for parents through the medical staff there. And libraries is a great place for libraries to partner again. Oh, thanks, Christine, for posting the link. So here they create these literacy-rich environments in their waiting rooms, and libraries can help with that. They can help with designing it, with supplying some books and manipulatives, perhaps, if you're able to do that, or just give them some advice on what could go in a literacy-rich environment. And here on the right, the Pikes Peak Library District in Colorado does a great partnership with their Reach Out and Read clinics. So they have this suitcase of materials. Again, it's just this grab and go thing. They do story times in the waiting room once a month, and it's a great outreach time. They read to the kids while they're in their waiting room, and they have this kit all ready to go. Just grab it and go. So it's another great partner. Some other partnership examples. We're talking about migrant families here, and we have some examples of that. On the left, this photo is some groups that the High Plains Library District in northern Colorado partnered with. They partnered with HIPPY, which is Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youth, and PAT, which is Parents as Teachers. So these are groups of home visitation groups. So this organization actually goes into people's homes to visit at-risk families to deliver a range of social services. So the library staff did a really excellent partnership where they cross-trained with their partners. They provided library materials to take and train the staff in early literacy, actually, and how to read with the kids and model with the kids. And they've just had exceptional results with this partnership. And there are other home visitation groups like the Nurse Family Partnership, and it's different in every community, so you can find out what's there. But any kind of home visit group where the staff of another organization is already going into the homes of outreach families is an excellent partner. You can tell how many possibilities there would be there. On the right, the Denver Public Library partnered with their local migrant education program to serve that population, which features so many barriers to coming to the library. So here, this photo shows a fun educational program that ZPL, the public library staff, brought to one of the migrant education program events. They also cross-trained with the home visitation partners. This migrant education program does home visits as well. So there was cross-training in early literacy and cultural competencies, so it was great. And in both of these examples, the library staff also went with staff from their partner organizations on a few of the home visits to really get into the community, to really talk with the people that they would be serving through their partners. They also found that these organizations that they worked with had staff that spoke so many different languages, many more that were represented in the library. So they served a whole lot more people that way than they would otherwise have been able to. So again, partnerships really can be critical to reaching these audiences of people who don't come to the library. And of course, there are many ways to be mobile with your outreach programs. There is, of course, the traditional Bookmobile program. This is from the Montrose Regional Library District in western Colorado. The picture on the left is just the inside. She's doing a story time while the Bookmobile is at a stop. And I brought this particular picture up because they did a unique program. They took the Bookmobile to a child care center in a low-income neighborhood during pickup and drop-off times once a week. And again, here they are reaching parents where they are when they are. And it was really a rich program. They had really great experience with that. And they did see some of the Bookmobile users later at the library. But that was not their purpose in doing this. His purpose was to be there when the parents were where they were. So it was super convenient. They had a great partnership with the Child Care Center and very successful. But there are other ways to be mobile. I see a question, how many of you have Bookmobiles? Lots of other ways to get out. So this is the DPL Connect. This is the Denver Public Library's pedal-powered mobile library and Wi-Fi hotspot. So you can take that out anywhere into the community. It's all by bicycle, and these are more and more popular throughout the country. And so you can see it all spread out here. It's really compact, but it spreads out nicely to form a little space. So that is one option. There are also all kinds of pop-up libraries that take many shapes and include many services. So the photo on top, this is from the Houston Public Library. This pop-up library is particularly for young children. It is ideal for preschool, child care center, any indoor space where there are small children. Their pop-up library includes a tent with iPads, library materials, and resources. You can see in the picture the staff deliver story times. And they also have a version of their pop-up library for children with special needs, which is great. And we've mainly been talking today about serving children in the summer with outreach to prevent summer slide, but of course outreach spans all ages, birth through adults. So here is a great pop-up library at a senior center from the Plainville Public Library. And so what they do is they're able to check books in and out and do general circulation, issue library cards, and they also have one-on-one tech lessons with patrons on patrons' own devices. So they take this out into senior centers in their community. Another possible outreach. So again, being mobile can take many different shapes, sizes. You can do it on a low budget. You can pack things in your car and take them out and have a really rich outreach experience without a bookmobile. And then the last and I guess broadest option is to take it community-wide. This is the Chicago City of Learning, which began in 2013 and continues to grow, and other cities have taken this on too. They are very community-wide efforts to incorporate as many organizations that serve youth as possible to come together and have amazing opportunities for youth available in all types of venues and spaces and places and times to make it extremely accessible all over the community. So the photo on top, they have an annual meeting for the Chicago City of Learning program, and over 100 organizations participate in this, which is amazing, right? And it is, of course, a very large city. But just to have this kind of commitment and collaboration across very diverse organizations is really amazing. So you can see some of the wide range of activities that they have. They have them in all sorts of venues, and I'm going to pop up the link on that for you. Here's the City of Learning. So that's another another possibility. And Christine, we're going to have a discussion now. We have, Roseanne mentioned she's going to have a table at the very popular Northern Virginia Teen Book Festival. Oh, that's great. That's a great place to do outreach, yep. So we've seen some examples now and we've talked about the why and the how of doing outreach. So we hope you've gotten some ideas from each other or from me or some of the examples I've shown over the course of this 50 minutes, and would love to know what new outreach you would like to try this summer. Kathy's going to get herself on the summer feed bus. That's great. Oh, Anne says summer reading sign up at Head Start's at pickup time. Oh, your Head Start went year round. Oh, that's interesting. That's great. Kathy mentioned story walks in parks near the branches. Great. Roseanne, yeah, partnering with local organizations that aren't restricted to school calendars. That is a really good point that I did not bring up. Thank you for mentioning that. You do need to find organizations that don't work around the school calendar. Really good point. And some of those organizations may be especially busy in the summer, just like you are. So whenever you're starting a partnership, you do need to look at those kinds of just logistical things. Does your partner have the capacity in the summer to do a rich partnership with you all? So being present at child care centers during pickup times, yeah, that has worked so well for them. They've really had great success with it. Really amazing outcomes. Again, they've gotten good numbers too, but the outcomes have just, I tear up really when I read the parent quotes that they get from that program. Kathy mentions the Parents as Teachers program. Great. Oh, and you just heard a presentation from them. Super. Caitlin says, story walks in the national park. Yay. Jeannie says, approaching master gardeners. Yeah, for adult programs. Yeah, I really didn't talk much about adults, but definitely include them in here. They are part of summer outreach for sure. So the Lit Lunch kits seem to be popular. The one I showed was in Spanish. They have them in English too. Of course, you can do them in any language relevant for your community. Anne already has tubs of books in the trunk. Excellent. Love to see that. Oh, Cricket mentions that the Summer Food Service has a foothold in the community. Excellent. And story walks and little free libraries. Great. Well, I'm glad you've gotten some ideas. I hope that some of those come to fruition for you and make it successful for you to reach out into your community this year and serve some communities that haven't been coming into your library. Thank you so much for coming. Just one last photo for you here. These pop-up libraries are being organized by a nonprofit, the Uni Project, which organizes roaming open-air reading rooms across New York City. So here they have some books, and they are inviting people to draw New York City and post the drawings. So I thought that was a nice example, and it looks like it's set up there in a playground. Thank you so much for coming. I do hope you have some great ideas, and I'll turn it over to Christine for our close.